Good morning. Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Ki yia riv ben anashim, when there is a fight between people. So we're talking about where one person assaulted another person. In other words, we're talking about a criminal case. And obviously, this is talking about during the time when the Beit HaMikdash is standing and the Sanhedrin, the great Sanhedrin, is meeting, and Jewish law in Israel had authority over criminal law as well as civil law. So this is a criminal law case of one person assaulting another. V'nigshu el hamishpat, and the two people, the assailant and the victim, come to court. Ushfatum, and the court adjudicates. V'tzdiku es hatzadik, they find the victim innocent. V'hirshiu es harasha, and they find the perpetrator guilty. So what is the punishment for one person assaulting another? V'haya im bin hakos harasha, it shall be, if this is appropriate, to give malchus, lashes, corporal punishment to the perpetrator. Then the agent of the court will administer the lashes. First of all, let's keep in mind, it is only the agent of the court that is allowed to do that. If any other person would intervene, and even if they would give the same number of lashes, that would also be an act of assault, and they'd be guilty for that. It's only the agent of the court that has permission to do that. Now, we've touched on this briefly, and I only want to mention this parenthetically now. I am not suggesting that we bring back corporal punishment in our society today. However, I would like to suggest to you that there is a tremendous benefit in the punishment of corporal punishment, the way that it was practiced in Talmudic criminal law, versus the normal punishment for criminal crimes in Western countries today, which is prison. Because prison is just about the worst idea I can imagine. Number one, your family is suffering and they didn't do anything wrong. And you're not able to be together with your family, and very often your family goes down a cycle of poverty. Number two, it does nothing to recompense the victim. And number three, who are you together with in prison? You're together with other prisoners. And what do you learn in prison? You learn how to commit another crime. And hopefully, from your point of view, and not get caught again. That's the recidivism rate, which is very, very high. So prison is just about the worst idea in the world, in my opinion. Corporal punishment. So first of all, the Talmud says it had to be administered by an agent of the court. It hurt, but it did not leave any lasting marks. No lasting marks, no lasting injuries. And there had to be a doctor who would examine the prisoner and determine how many lashes they could take. So if a person receives the punishment of lashes, it's not like there's 20 lashes for a light crime and 40 lashes for a more grave crime. No, there's one thing called lashes. And the number of lashes that you get is dependent upon your health. The positive aspect of it is, number one, it was not in public, so it was not humiliating. Number two, it hurt, but it was not disfiguring. And number three, it was over. And once it's over, you're considered a tzaddik, a righteous person. And you return to your family, you return to society. So it's over. Again, I'm not suggesting we bring it back. I am suggesting that there are benefits that very much outweigh the punishment of prison. Okay, that's just in parentheses. So, the Torah says, Arbaim yakenu, 40 lashes a person should get. Lo Yosef, and don't give any more. Don't add 41. Pen Yosef la koso al ela makaraba. Maybe you'll give one more. V'nikla chichalenecha, and you'll cause harm to this person. And then you will be guilty, even if you're the agent of the court. If you give one extra, and the person is harmed by that, you will be guilty of assault and held accountable for the crime of assault. So don't give any more than 40. No more than 40. 40 lashes. Now let's go to the Mishnah. The Mishnah Masechta Makos says as follows. Kama malkanoso. How many lashes do you get? Well, first, that seems like a kind of a strange question because the Torah pretty clearly said you get 40. But the Mishnah asks, how many? And the Mishnah says a surprising answer. Arbayim chasar achas. 40 minus 1, which is 39. So the Torah says 40, but the Mishnah says 39. How can the Mishnah say 39 if the Torah itself says 40? So the Mishnah has kind of a interesting way of interpreting the words because of the fact Shenemar, the verse says, B'mispar arboyim, the number 40, minyan shehu samoch la'arboyim. It is the number that is next to the number 40. Meaning you give the number of lashes that the next one would be 40, but you don't give that one. So it's 39. Okay, it's kind of an ingenious way of reading the verse. It's certainly not the simple way of reading the verse, but it's 39 because it's the number that once you get to that number, the next number is 40. So it's only 39. One more time. The Torah says 40. The Mishnah interprets that verse to mean 39. Now, let's go to the Gemara. Talmud says as follows. Amar Rava. Rava was one of the great sages of the Talmud. Rava says as follows. Kama tipshoy shar inchi. Some people are so foolish. People that don't have extensive understanding and Jewish education, sometimes they can do things that are so foolish. For example, Dekaimi Mekame Sefer Torah. They stand up in the presence of a Torah scroll. When the Torah is taken out of the ark and we're walking with the Torah to the Shulchan, everyone stands, which is what we're supposed to do. That's correct, because we stand out of respect for the Torah. V'lokaimi mekame gavra rabba. But they don't stand in the presence of a gavra rabba, a great man, a great Torah scholar. A great Torah scholar deserves more respect than even the Torah scroll. If you're going to stand up for the Torah scroll, how could you not stand up for a gavra rabba, a great man? De'ilu b'sefer Torah ksiv arbayim. Because if you look at the Torah scroll, the Torah says 40 lashes. V'as rabbanim batzu chada. And the rabbanim came along, the sages of the Mishnah came along, and they said, no, not 40, 39. So the rabbis deserve more honor than the Torah itself. Because according to the Torah, you get 40, but according to the rabbis, you only get 39. Okay? Now I want to tell you a story. This story happened in the early 1900s. And by the way, what I'm sharing with you, I heard from Rabbi J.J. Schachter. The story goes like this. In the early 1900s, it was common for great rabbis to spend some of the summer vacation in Switzerland because the air was nice and it was pleasant. You could take a walk outside. It was beautiful. And it was a common thing that great Torah scholars would spend part of their vacation in the summer in Switzerland. There was a young scholar. His name was Rabbi Meir Yehiel. He was known as the Ostrover Rav. He was the Rav in Ostrov. And he was a young man, but he was a brilliant scholar, a genius. And it once happened that this young, brilliant scholar was in Switzerland, in the mountains during the summer, and he happened to have a chance meeting with Rav Chaim Ozer Grozinski. Now, Rav Chaim Ozer Grozinski was the greatest Torah scholar of all of Europe at that time. He was the top. He was the greatest. And Rav Chaim Ozer Grozinski, when he saw this young fellow, Rabbi Meir Yehiel, he said to him, I've heard about you. I've heard about you that you are a Gavra Rabbah, that you're a great man. Now, for Rav Chaim Ozer to give a compliment like that to a young scholar, he did not give out compliments easily. For him to say that this young scholar is a Gavra Rabbah, a great man, wow. And the Ostrover Rav was taken aback. And he said to Rav Chaim Ozer, with all due respect, Rebbe, I don't really think that I'm deserving of the title of Gavra Rabbah, of a great man. Because a great man, Gavra Rabbah, is not just someone who is smart, who is brilliant in Torah learning, but a Gavra Rabbah is someone who also helps other people and relieves their pain. You know, you can be a brilliant scholar and not necessarily involved with other people. As the cliche goes, in your own ivory tower. You can be brilliant. But that's different than a scholar who is also involved in helping people and relieving their pain. And the Ostrover Rav says, I'm not deserving of the title Gavra Rabbah. Yes, I study Torah, but I don't really help people. I haven't saved others from pain. So Rav Chaim Ozer said to him, how do you know that's what the term Gavra Rabbah means? It means great man. How do you know? Why should it only refer to someone who reduces someone's pain? So listen to the answer that this young man gave. The answer is as follows. The passage of the Talmud that I quoted to you before, Amar Rava, people are silly if they stand in the presence of a Torah scholar. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I messed it up. People are silly if they stand in the presence of a Torah scroll, which they should do, but they don't stand in the presence of a Torah scholar, because a Torah scholar can reduce the number of lashes from 40 to 39. Now, yes, it takes quite a bit of scholarship to reinterpret the verse, which pretty clearly says 40, to mean that it actually means to say 39. Yes, you have to be pretty sharp to do that. But the Ostrover Rav says this line of 40 lashes in our Torah portion, Teitzei, is near the end of the Torah. We're in the middle of the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy. But earlier in the Torah, we had a similar situation where the Torah gives a number, but the scholars in the Talmud understood it as a different number. The Torah says, Usfartim lochem, and you should count for yourselves. This is counting from Sukkos to Shavuos. Tispru chamishim yom. You count 50 days. And we know, the Talmud says, when it says 50 days, it really only means 49. We count 49 days of the Omer. The 50th day is Shavuos. So here you have the sages of the Talmud who are able to interpret that when it says 50, it really means 49. So the Asher Rav asks, why is Rava in the Talmud calling a Gavra Rabbah someone who interprets the 40 lashes to be 39? We already have a proof earlier in the Torah. Someone where the Torah says you have to count 50 days, you only have to count 49 days. Why is that not the proof that a Torah scholar deserves more honor than the Torah itself? And here's where the Asher Rav gives an answer. If you're supposed to count 50 days, but then the scholars of the Talmud say you only have to count 49, that takes a lot of brilliance. You have to interpret the verses. You have to be very smart. It's a clever thing. But when the Torah says 40 lashes, and you interpret it to mean 39 lashes, it's not just that you're clever and smart and brilliant. It is also that you have caused less pain to the person who's going to receive them. That's what Gavra Rabbah means. And the Asher Rav was claiming he was not a Gavra Rabbah because maybe he was brilliant. Maybe he was clever in Talmudic logic. But he was not a person yet who had the experience of helping people who were in pain to remove their pain. In other words, this term, Gavra Rabbah, great man, doesn't have to be a genius. Doesn't have to have the intellectual prowess of a genius. But to be called a Gavra Rabbah must be one who cares and who is sensitive to the pain of another and reduces 40 lashes to 39. And remember, this person we're giving the lashes to, this is no tzaddik. Remember, remember we've discussed criminal law and Jewish law. We're talking about a person that did it on purpose, and there were 2 eyewitnesses, and the eyewitnesses warned him, if you do this assault, you're going to receive lashes. And the person said, I heard what you said, and afal pikin, even though I'm still going to do it. He's a wicked person. But still, even to such a person, we should try to reduce their suffering. We should try to have at least a little bit of mercy. And that's why the Talmud had to wait for the example of 40 lashes being interpreted into 39 lashes in order to call a Torah scholar who does that a Gavra Rabbah. Because a Gavra Rabbah is not just a person who is brilliant in Torah learning. Gavra Rabbah is a person who is able to diminish the pain of another person. And when we look around at people and we think about who we respect and who we admire and who we honor, yes, to be smart is good. Yes, to be brilliant is good. Yes, to be able to teach brilliant classes and come up with brilliant insights, yes, that's all very, very good. But to reduce the pain of another person, that is a Gavra Rabbah. That is a great person. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.